Good afternoon, honourable members. Let's first observe a moment for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 38, Tourism Appropriation Bill.
I recognise the Honourable the Minister of Tourism. Honourable Minister, just please switch on the mic.
Thank you, Chairperson. I said good afternoon, goeiemorgen, goeiemiddag, assalamu alaikum, moweni. As Chairperson, greetings to my Deputy Minister, Honourable Sotua, the Portfolio Chairperson, Ms. Ronalda Nalumango, all the PC members that are here today, the DG of Tourism, Victor Vele, the CFO, Ms. Mponia, the CEO of SA Tourism, Nombulelo Goliwe, all the enterprise representatives, colleagues and guests. It is my honor to present the Tourism Budget Vote 38 for the 25-26 financial year. And today I will demonstrate how our 2.434 billion budget builds on the achievements of the last year of the sixth administration, how we are planning for the future, and how we are addressing oversight concerns raised by the Portfolio Committee in their budget report. This budget is based on the GNU's program of action for the next 5 years, which aims to drive rapid, inclusive and sustainable economic growth and create jobs, reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living, build a capable, ethical and developmental state. However, government cannot do it alone. And we must stop repeating the same actions expecting different results. Our mission is clear, is to elevate the profile of tourism as a key driver of economic growth and job creation, as it is identified in the National Development Plan and also in the Tourism Master Plan. Together with the private sector and our communities, we are transforming tourism into a turbocharger for inclusive growth, jobs, and community upliftment. The budget at a glance, I'm here today to discuss the future and what the tourism budget of 2.434 billion will deliver to South Africans, as well as the impact on our people's lives. So the main allocation of the budget are as follows: 1.3 billion to SAT, 331 million for destination development. The majority will go to the Working in Tourism program, 331 million for tourism sector support services, which will include the tourism incentive program like the Green Tourism Incentive Program, the Market Access Program, the Tourism Grading Program, and also the Tourism Transformation Fund. I want to address the oversight issues and concerns raised by the Portfolio Chair and members. And I would like to demonstrate how we are addressing the concerns raised by the Portfolio's Committee's budget report. For the legislative and policy reviews, the Department will finalize and table the Tourism Amendment Bill, aligning it with the White Paper, with a focus on short-term rentals, grading enforcement and governance. We will review outdated strategies like including the heritage and cultural tourism, domestic growth, rural tourism, service excellence, and climate change. We will enhance all new fund contracts for the GITP, the Tourism Equity Fund, the Tourism Transformation Fund, to include clear deliverables. And this will include 60-day approval targets and consequence management when we fail to raise these targets. We will ensure the implementation of our community tourism aftercare program, providing post-handover support to community lodges, including business mentorship, market linkages, governance training, and maintenance. As chairperson, we are focusing on the future also through the digital transformation and risk management initiatives, which include developing a digital maturity roadmap, a real-time tourism dashboard, data analytics, and mobile tools. We will implement the sector risk and mitigation plan with a focus on climate change, health, safety, and governance. We will enhance governance and oversight to ensure we meet the objectives outlined in the Tourism Growth Partnership Plan. Other interventions to improve governance include quarterly public dashboards for EPWP placements, fund disbursements, policy reviews, and risk metrics. We will strengthen internal control, our audit committees, and contract and consequence management framework. The Deputy Minister and I appreciate the concerns raised by the Portfolio Committee, and we will work together with the Portfolio Committee to find lasting solutions. Few of the successes of the past year, we have seen and experienced an upswing in tourism with an increase of international visitors reaching a peak of 9.1 million. Domestic overnight travel continued its upward trajectory with 40 million trips recorded, up from 37.7 million. International tourists brought with them a total foreign direct spend of 92.8 billion in the previous financial year, while domestic tourism grew by 7.6%, rising to 133.1 billion rand. Domestic tourism is the bedrock of our sector, and to strengthen it further, the Department of Tourism and South African Tourism will provide support for events. We directed 76% of our budget to growth and jobs initiatives, with 40% procurement from SMMEs and 40% from women-owned businesses. We paid 100% compliant invoices within 30 days, and our Green Tourism Incentive Program retrofitted 103 properties. We supported 266 SMMEs in participating in global trade shows through the Market Access Program. We spent a further 144 million to train and deploy 2,300 tourism monitors. On a policy level, we completed and implemented the Tourism Master Plan, and we also finalized the Tourism White Paper and the Tourism Route Development Marketing Strategy. And for our two major source markets, in collaboration with the Department of Home Affairs, we implemented and marketed the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme, welcoming our first Chinese and Indian travelers via a digital visa. In our Tourism Sector Growth Partnership Plan, we last year undertook a full review of all the department's policy documents that were implemented during the sixth administration and even before, including the ERRP, the Tourism Master Plan, the White Paper, and the National Development Plan targets. As chairperson, out of this, we set ourselves an ambitious and practical guide on how to jumpstart and sustain tourism growth. The Tourism Growth Plan identifies 5 core pillars for sector-wide action and implementation. Ease of access first, visa reform, air connectivity, road transport, Secondly, a coordinated destination marketing for international, continental, domestic and MICE segments. Tourist safety and security awareness campaigns, responsive support and crisis management. Tourism product development, quality infrastructure and immersive route experience design, and job creation for youth, acceleration and skills development pathway. So the 5-pillar tourism growth partnership plan sets targets for government, the sector, and the whole of society to achieve by 2030. The Department of Tourism, together with sector leaders, will host an execution lab later this month to discuss practical ways to achieve the targets set by the growth plan, including who, when, and how. Coordinated destination marketing. Our flagship global program, South Africa Awaits, Come and Find Your Joy, brand campaign resonated in 7 key markets: Asia, Europe, the Americas, and Africa, boosting website traffic by 35% and generating 1.2 million digital engagements. Domestically, our short-lived travel week and summer campaigns drove a 9% increase in South Africans' travel across provinces, supporting 920 short-lived deals and 914 new jobs. This year, we will spend 20 million on marketing our national domestic tourism. We utilize data-driven decision-making and foster better partnerships to plan and execute effective marketing campaigns. We also commissioned 5 new tracking surveys for departures, domestic business events, PR sentiment, and brand perception. That is giving us a real-time insight into arrival spend, the visitor's mood, and so our corporate index rose from 71.8 to 74.2. We are also sharpening our game to remain Africa's premier hub for meetings, incentives, and conferences, and hosting Meetings Africa and Travel in Durban from 2026 will be refined with a more effective business model to enhance sustainability and promote a 15% increase in exhibitor diversity. We will support 105 MICE bid submissions, aiming to convert 25 into close wins with 120 million in economic impact, and host also 10 events in villages, townships, small dorpies for an inclusive regional uplift. So the department will invest 95 million in 10 high-impact maintenance and enhanced projects on department-owned sites. We will also complete 25 community-based tourist lodges and branded routes in villages, townships, and small towns. We will host our first tourism investment summit as part of the G20 to showcase prioritized projects and attract 5 new anchor investments in September, the 9th to the 10th of September here in Cape Town. We will also launch our tourism investment booklet together with the United Nations Tourism. We are also working to finalize condition assessment for 5 heritage sites and prepare detailed conservation plans. We will finalize the short-term rental framework in consultation with the industry. And in conclusion, House Chair, this vote represents our commitment to action, legislative, operational, and strategic. It aligns resources to remove barriers, to strengthen partnerships, and embed innovation and technology so that tourism can realize the full potential of our people and of our places. Together, we will create a resilient and inclusive tourism sector that powers South Africa's future. I thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. The next speaker is the Honourable Nalo Mangu.
Honourable House Chairperson, Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honourable Members, DG of the Department and your team, fellow South Africans. As we celebrate 70 years of the Freedom Charter, we are reminded of the visionary leadership of Professor Z.K. Matthews, who in 1953 proposed the establishment of a national convention inclusive of all groupings of society to consider what they envisioned for a liberated South Africa. This multitude of views contributed to the formulation of the Freedom Charter as adopted in Kliptown on the 26th of June, 1955. It is this historical account of events that informs our resolve in support for the national dialogue as pronounced by President Ramaphosa. This dialogue will provide an opportune moment for the people of South Africa to unite behind a common cause, to effectively address our structural challenges of a stagnant economy which reproduces poverty, unemployment, and inequality. It is this spirit that we stand here today to advocate for a more vibrant, inclusive, and transformed tourism sector. The ANC over the years has been calling for a whole of government approach towards tourism, one that is also fueled by healthy public-private partnerships capable of boosting our economy and creating jobs at a massive scale. Equally more, attention and resources must be redirected towards growing the local tourism economy. A more concrete plan to support the heritage, cultural, and the informal tourism economy that sustains many of our people in the townships, villages, and small dorpies must be developed. A deliberate effort must be made to target rural, impoverished communities in order to ensure their participation in the mainstream tourism economy. We need an economy that works for all. It is for this reason that we view corruption as a direct attack on the development of this country. The ANC calls on the Department and South African Tourism to urgently brief the committee on the alleged mismanagement of tender processes implicating POM Express and MMC Business Solutions. We condemn all acts of corruption with the contempt that it deserves and urge that action be taken against those who are found guilty of any acts of corruption. Honourable Chairperson, we are convinced that tourism has the potential to be the leading force behind employment creation and poverty alleviation, both from a departmental and sectoral standpoint. As expressed in the Portfolio Committee, we remain concerned about the department's vacancy rate, which has been maintained at 13.2% for a while now. Out of 2,037 targeted work opportunities for Q4, only 66 were created, citing an insufficient number of high labor intensity projects implemented through EPWP. Additionally, Programme 3 faces a nominal decrease of 10% from 367.8 million in 24-25 to 331.1 million in 2025-26. This has a direct implication on the Working for Tourism Extended Public Works Programme, which will now be decreased by 13.81% in nominal terms for the new financial year, thereby only creating 4,200 work opportunities over the medium term, which is a massive decline when compared to the 17,988 that were planned for the 2024-25 medium term. We implore the department to find alternative sources to supplement this program and increase work opportunities. Honourable members, over the medium term, the department will receive a total budget of 7.6 billion. Transfers to South African tourism account for an estimated 53.4%, which equates to 4.1 billion of this amount over this financial period. Budget allocations are expected to increase at an average annual rate of 3.8% from 2.4 billion in 2024-25 to 2.7 billion in 27-28. We will be keeping a close eye on the entity South African Tourism to ensure that they adequately respond to their mandate, which encompasses marketing South Africa as a preferred destination of choice to the international, regional, and domestic market, opening the country up for business events, managing the tourism grading system. Honourable Chairperson, we have high expectations that South African tourism will go back to its day of good performance and good audit outcomes following its regression and qualified opinion with findings due to a notable deterioration in the control environment and poor quality of submitted annual financial statements, as well as failure to prevent irregular expenditure, amongst other factors. We believe that the filling of critical vacancies, such as that of CEO, CFO, CMO, and the company secretary, are a step in the right direction towards ensuring stability and optimal functioning in the entity. Honourable members, as I conclude, I must thank committee members for the contribution towards the stern recommendations as outlined in the report and further stress the need for urgent intervention by sister departments on areas of convergence, such as relating to sand parks, Babungubwe, Isimangaliso, which falls under the Department of Fisheries and Forestries and the Environment, Robben Island under Sports, Arts and Culture, safety and security concerns, which we address in collaboration with SAPS. We must also stress the need to ensure that jobs created by the department not only reflect the 1,400 job opportunities created through the Tourism Monitors project, but more jobs are created and recorded through infrastructure projects implemented by the Development Bank of Southern Africa, amongst other projects. Noting that the annual sector target is 5,994 work opportunities, an urgent catch-up plan must be developed and shared with the committee. The ANC supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honourable Moodley.
House Chair, colleagues, Minister, Deputy Minister, friends, I stand before you here not very happy what I've seen the last, shaking your head, the last PC meeting. In fact, with what we've seen last, it's changed my whole mind, the perception, the way this committee works. The MK party rejects the portfolio committee on tourism report on vote 38 on the basis that the tourism sector remains untransformed. Focus on the already privileged, underfunds the rural and township economies, and has abandoned the transformation agenda. The South African government failure to transform the tourism sector reflects a missed opportunity to use tourism as a powerful tool for economic transformation. Tourism currently employs 1.8 million people and contributes 8.8% to the GDP as of 2024. Yet, this massive sector remains dominated by white-owned enterprises, while black workers are concentrated in low-paying positions. The current government promised an inclusive growth and job creation through tourism as hollow promises, really hollow promises. It's only promises, words. The GNU will continue to fail because instead of using the 7.6 billion tourism budget to drive real transformation, it continues to channel resources to benefit the same privileged tourism operators. An unjustifiable 53.4% of the budget, which is 4.1 billion, is transferred to South African tourism, an entity that markets South Africa to international tourists, while excluding domestic tourism that could benefit our own people. And that's key for me, by the way. For 3 decades, the government focused on appeasing established white black-owned tourism industry while neglecting community-based tourism initiatives. And I hear the chair speaking about that, by the way. Research confirms that South Africa's tourism industry remains predominantly dominated by white-owned enterprises, despite the Tourism Transformation Fund being established with 1.2 billion specifically for black operators has been at a snail's pace, while established operators continue to benefit from government's partnership. The government's devastating failure is evident in the numbers. The Working for Tourism program has been slashed from 297 million to 256.6 million, representing a crushing 13.81% decrease. Meanwhile, job creation targets have plummeted from 17,988 opportunities to mere 1,400 in 2025-2026. A staggering 92% reduction in employment opportunities for our people. This collapse, This collapse unequally affects black workers who make up the majority of tourist employees but lack ownership and decision-making power. The proposed 3.8 annual budget increase for tourism falls short of what is needed to transform the sector. International visitor spending reached only 116.5 billion in 2024, still trailing 2019 levels by 37.7 billion rand. Yet the government continues on focusing on international markets rather than building domestic tourism capacity. Despite the global community-based tourism market being valued at 575.9 billion and projected to reach 2 trillion by 2032, South Africa continues to neglect this proven model for inclusive development. The underfunding of transformation initiative is symptomatic of a lack of vision in government's approach. Domestic tourism recorded at 37.7 million overnight trips, contributing 123.8 billion rands, yet domestic tourism programs remain disjointed, campaigns that are not coordinated at a strategic level. The voluntary grading system allows the big hotel chains to operate without proper oversight, while small community-owned establishments struggle to access support. A robust tourism transformation infrastructure is the backbone of credible economic empowerment policy. The government's underinvestment in transformation initiatives undermines its ability to use tourism as a tool of economic liberation. Despite tourism's contribution increasing to 8.8% of GDP, employment patterns show the black workers remain concentrated in low-skilled positions, while ownership patterns remain unchanged from apartheid time. Without deliberate intervention to prioritize the previously disadvantaged communities, government promises of reducing poverty, inequality through tourism will always remain hollow and a pipe dream. Indeed, a pipe dream. In fact, fancy words. The statistics speak for themselves. While tourism contributes billions to the economy and employs millions, the ownership and control remain in the hands of the privileged few, I might say, perpetuating the economic exclusion of the black majority. The MK party rejects inadequate approach to tourism development, as it will not transform the sector to serve the interest of the people and will ultimately perpetuate the economic exclusion of the black majority for the benefits of tourism. Just one thing before I leave this podium in closing. Madam Minister, the last PC meeting we had, and I need to say this, it was this is when I made up my mind that things are not running right in the tourism. It's actually a dog show. And if you look at it, you're talking about the Extended Public Works Program. We have that money was sent to the Treasury, and people are hungry. They want jobs, and yet we couldn't employ people in the Extended Public Works Program. And you know that, you heard it yourself. And that's when I knew that tourism needs to change. If people can't do their job, fire them. Fire them. Why keep people there if all we hear is fancy words? That's all I hear. I want to see jobs, that our people get jobs, and we're moving forward. At the beginning, I thought, when I first
Thank you, Honourable Moodley.
When I joined here, I thought we'd be okay. I reject this budget with contempt it deserves.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honourable Linda.
Agbare voorsitter, hierdie begroting laat my dink aan 'n roosterkoek by 'n padstal. Kort nog botter en veel meer konfyt. Ons sien 'n 2.4 miljard rand begroting wat soos 'n mislukte safari voel. Soveel beloftes, min wild en geen spoor van die beloofde ekonomiese reënboog nie. 'n Begroting waarvan meer as die helfte, 1.3 miljard rand, soos 'n oorvol reisbrosjure in die posbus van die swak presterende SA Toerisme val. 'n Entiteit wat nog nie die kuns bemeester het om werk te skep nie. Intussen bly binnelandse toerisme agterweë, soos 'n motor sonder brandstof. Waar is die plan om Suid-Afrikaners te laat reis? In 2024 het binnelandse toerisme slegs 12 miljard rand ingebring, wat verdubbel kon gewees het met 'n slim bemarkingsplan. Bemark ons land vir Suid-Afrikaners eers, dan vir die wêreld. DA verwelkom die voorneme om 'n toerismevennootskapmodel te ontwikkel. Ons waardeer die erkenning van digitale transformasie as 'n prioriteit, maar dit moet verder strek as 'n verslag. Dit moet werklik toegang verbeter en besluitneming data gedrewe maak. Ons is dankbaar dat die DA se voorstel dat transformasie uitkomsgebaseer en in lyn met die volhoubare ontwikkelingsdoelwitte van geen armoede, behoorlike werk en verminderde ongelykheid nou deel van die begrotingsverslag se aanbevelings is. Die administrasieprogram kry 364 miljoen rand sonder duidelike meetbare produkte. Die enigste gegewe is 'n skandelike 44 miljoen rand wat begroot word vir kantoorakkommodasie. Dit terwyl ons gemeenskappe swaar kry. Minister De Lille sny die vet van die administrasie af en plaas die fokus op implementering, impak en streng oorsig. Die transformasie en billikheidsfondse is vasgevang in ou struktuur en swak implementering. Trek die rieme stywer, minister. Verander die implementeerders, verhoog prestasieverwagtinge en koppel die billikheidsfonds aan die APP se doelwitte. Wys dat u regtig omgee vir opkomende entrepreneurs. Ons kan nie hierdie jaar weer net 'n handjievol klein besighede ondersteun nie. Voorsitter, die DA glo in toerisme se potensiaal, maar nie in nog 'n verslag wat jaar na jaar dieselfde lyk nie. Maak toerisme toeganklik met gratis hoëspoed Wi-Fi en interaktiewe tegnologie in ons nasionale parke, erfenisterreine en kultuurgebiede. Belê in regte infrastruktuur, soos toegeruste rusareas en skoon toiletgeriewe langs toeristepaaie, markstalletjies en veilige parkeerareas by ons toeriste aantreklikhede. Toerisme is meer as hotelle en landskappe, voorsitter. Dis ook landbou, plaaslewe, kultuur en ekonomiese selfstandigheid. Daarom stel die DA voor dat die departement 'n toegewyde agritourisme program in vennootskap met landbou en plaaslike owerhede ontwikkel. Agritourisme is die sleutel tot ekonomiese groei. Dit bied enorme potensiaal vir werkskepping, entrepreneurskap en plaaslike ontwikkeling, veral in landelike streke. Van plaasverblyf tot plaasmarkte, wyn- en olyfroetes, boerderyervarings en meer. Dit is 'n sektor wat wag om ontgin te word in plattelandse gebiede. Ontwikkel 'n wolskaaproete in die Karoo met plaaslike wolmarkte en sentrums wat wolwas, skeer en handwerk demonstreer. Ontwikkel Limpopo se vrugtekorridor deur opleiding in vrugteverwerking te gee. Lei die jong mense van Musina en Makado op as toergiste. Agbare voorsitter, laat ons toerisme in al ons gemeenskappe plant, nie net in brosjures nie, en beslis nie in 44 miljoen rand kantore en buitensporige salarisrekeninge van 358 miljoen rand nie. Ons kan blindelings 1 miljard rand vir 'n onderbesterende entiteit gee om nog korrupte tenders toe te ken, of ons kan belê in agritourisme wat standhoudende werke vir duisende Suid-Afrikaanse gesinne kan skep. Agbare minister, laat ons nie hierdie begroting onthou as nog 'n gemorste kans nie, maar as die jaar waarin toerisme werklik Suid-Afrika geword het. Kom ons skep werk, kom ons gee hoop, kom ons laat toerisme in Suid-Afrika floreer. Ek dank u.
Dankie. The next speaker is the Honourable Tito.
Ka leboga House Chairperson, ke rata go dumedisa mopresidente wa rona e leng Julius Sello Malema, the President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, the officials, commissars, fighters, le baagi ba rona ba South Africa. Mme gape ke rata go laletsa baagi ba South Africa gore ba tle go keteka le rona our 12-year anniversary ka di 26 July 2025 ko Khayelitsha Rugby Stadium teng mo Cape Town. Re keteka dingwaga tse 12 tse tsepameng re lwela ditokelo tsa baagi ba rona ba Afrika Borwa ka bophara. House Chair, the Economic Freedom Fighters firmly rejects this budget vote 38 on tourism. Our rejection is rooted in the fact that this budget fails to adequately address the urgent needs of those working in and depend on the tourism sector. This proposed budget is neither pro-poor nor aligned with a transformative developmental agenda. Instead of uplifting historically disadvantaged communities and supporting inclusive economic growth, this budget continues to reinforce existing inequalities in the sector, thus perpetuating unequal redistribution of resources. Nevertheless, to say, the foundation of South African tourism was built around natural landscape escarpments, caves, mountains, and vast bushveld teeming with wildlife that originally belonged to the indigenous people of this land. Over time, these spaces were fenced off, commodified, and rendered inaccessible to the very communities whose heritage were represented. This is a direct result of colonial and apartheid-era dispossession. It is therefore imperative that this budget seeks to correct these historical injustices by ensuring equitable access, ownership, and participation in the tourism economy for the historically marginalized. A budget that does not address these realities fails in its constitutional and developmental obligation. To drive this point home, allow me to pause and pose a rhetorical question. How many Africans, South Africans in particular, own a cheetah, a lion, or a giraffe? And please do not bring up the isolated case of a single black man with a big nose who owns a few buffaloes. That is not transformation. That is tokenism. We are speaking here of real transformation, systematic change that redistribute ownership, access, and economic benefit in a sector historically defined by exclusion and dispossession. The 7th administration should hang its head in shame for squandering a historic opportunity to bring transformation and dignity to the tourism sector instead of advancing black ownership and genuine economic participation. This budget reflects business as usual. Almost 54% of this budget has been conspicuously allocated to the tourism sector through transfers and subsidies. But let us be clear, subsidies are often just a sophisticated way of enriching the already wealthy while the poor remain trapped in poverty. This funding should have been explicitly and strategically tied to a black empowerment agenda in tourism, ensuring that these subsidies advance transformation, inclusivity, and ownership by those who were historically excluded. We must be intentional and unwavering in our efforts to redress the imbalances of the past. Community-based tourism initiatives and the support of local arts, crafts, and curious are critical to placing money directly into the hands of previously disadvantaged communities of South Africa. Greater investment should have been channeled into grassroots tourism development, supporting intangible cultural heritage in the form of cultural dance groups, promoting local African cuisines, and enabling meaningful local ownership in major tourism enterprises, such as the Kruger National Park, Table Mountain, and their surrounding ecosystems. Without such a transformative approach, it is unsurprising that the modest 3.8 increment in the tourism budget offers little hope of meaningful change. It is clear that this increment was never truly intended to uplift our people. A budget allocation of 2.7 billion when compared to the national budget in its entirety is barely a minimum. It reflects a lack of urgency and political will by the so-called government of national unity, which has now become the government of national disunity, to confront and correct the deep-rooted injustice of the past, a past in which the animals and natural wonders of this land were claimed in the name of the Queen of England. House Chair, Africans are not asking merely to alleviate poverty through tourism. They are demanding the right to create wealth from their own natural endowments. They want full ownership of the means of production in tourism, aligned with the broader progressive movements across the globalizing world that advocate for economic justice and self-determination. This budget is rejected because it fails to address urgent priorities. Instead, it panders to the wealthy elite who have controlled tourism since the apartheid era. Real transformation demands a budget 10 times larger, with at least 70% focus on correcting historically injustices and empowering the marginalized. Anything less is an insult to economic
Honourable
justice.
Tetu.
The EFF rejects this budget.
The next speaker is Honourable Gadebe.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Budget vote 38
On a point of
holds.
order, House Chair.
Yes, Honourable Member, why do you want to be recognised?
Two things, House Chair. The translation services is a disgrace, total disgrace, Xhosa and Zulu. Utter disgrace on what they are translating, because I listened to this previous speaker in terms of when they translate from Afrikaans to Xhosa and Zulu. Utter disgrace. And secondly, can we just tell our audience in the gallery that they can't participate in the events of the day? The role here is just to observe and look pretty. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. On the point you made around the translation services, I will try and escalate that so that it be improved. And then two members in the public gallery, just both downstairs as well as those who were able to join us in the galleries, I want to say upstairs. While we really appreciate your presence, and while we are a legislature that prides ourselves in transparency and accountability, the friendly request is that you be reminded that your role is to observe and not to participate. So in practical terms, that would mean that we, in a friendly way, request that you do not applaud or interject, but that you, in silence, listen to and observe the input of the honourable members who represent all of you in this House. Thank you. Honourable Gadebe, my apologies. Please proceed.
Honourable House Chairperson, my 6 seconds. Budget vote 38 holds the power to transform our nation with vision, determination, and political will. The Department of Tourism can drive real economic growth, create much-needed jobs, and uplift our country as a whole. But I would like to start with the tale of the two countries. Thailand, with a similar population size and a slightly larger GDP, has made tourism a core pillar of its economy. Both South Africa and Thailand are known for sunny skies, friendly people, and beautiful beaches. Yet, in 2024, Thailand welcomed 35.5 million visitors, almost 4 times the number that visited our shows. Their success stems from safety, an efficient public transport system, vibrant local business owned by Thai entrepreneurs, and visible tourist policing, creating an environment where tourists feel safe and welcomed. In contrast, South Africa faces serious challenges: safety concerns, illegal migration, unregulated businesses, and unsafe public transport. If these issues remain unaddressed, our crime levels will continue to tarnish our image, it will continue to deter potential visitors, and it will continue to hinder industry growth. The Department of Tourism's white paper on the development and promotion of tourism, gazetted for implementation in October 2024, acknowledges these issues. It proposes critical interventions, such as establishing a specialized police unit to handle tourist incidents. Minister, it is clear that a partnership model with measurable outcomes outlining specific roles to various partners is needed without further delay. If not, this white paper will remain but a plan, good on paper but lacking implementation. The IFP also welcomes the Portfolio Committee's recommendations that all government departments involved in tourism collaborate to remove barriers to growth. There are several departments that stand in the way of tourism's growth. For example, crime severely impacts us all, but tourists are especially vulnerable. In hotspots near Cape Town Airport, gangs target vehicles, robbing passengers of their belongings, especially cell phones, while waiting at traffic lights. Why is there no visible policing by SAPS in these areas? How many tourists have fallen victim? These questions demand urgent action. The pending Tourism Amendment Act, vital for regulating unregulated industries like Airbnb, Uber, and Bolt, remains stalled. The IFP urges the department to prioritize this legislative review urgently. Chairperson, South African tourism receives over half of our tourism budget via transfer, but is plagued by scandals, instability, and allegation of corruption. Those responsible for governance failures must face consequences. Then the Tourism Equity Fund, designed to support youth, rural and township entrepreneurs, has been mismanaged and is now in crisis. Far from empowering marginalized communities, it has left many businesses excluded and unsupported. Only 125 million of the 465 million allocated has been dispersed, leaving many applicants, mostly women, youth, persons with disabilities, waiting in vain. In closing, the future of South African tourism industry depends on our collective to resolve to address these challenges head on. Only then can we truly harness the greatness of our nation through tourism. In consideration of the challenges raised above, Honorable Minister, the IFP supports this budget vote. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Adebe. I now recognize the Honorable J.A. Basson. Honorable members, please take note that this is the maiden speech of this Honorable member. We welcome her to this House.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister, honourable members, and fellow South Africans. The Patriotic Alliance stands in support of Budget Vote 38 on the tourism portfolio, recognising the critical role that tourism plays in the economic growth, job creation, and social development in South Africa. We commend the efforts to revitalise the sector post-pandemic and acknowledges its potential to uplift and marginalised communities. However, our support comes with a firm call to action. This budget must prioritise and expand opportunities for SMMEs and the youth in South Africa. Tourism is not just about businesses and international investors. It must be a vehicle for grassroots economic empowerment. We demand increased funding and access to grants for small tourist enterprises, especially those owned by historically disadvantaged individuals, to ensure they benefit from tourism directly. Youth-focused and skills programs that equip South Africans with the tools to thrive in this sector. Preferential procurement policies that prioritise local SMMEs in the government and private sector, ensuring that economic benefits remain within our communities. Reduce bureaucratic barriers from small businesses to enter the tourism market, including simplified licensing processes and target financial support. The Patriotic Alliance believes that tourism can be a powerful tool in enforcing inclusive government transformation, but only if the budget is implemented with deliberate focus on SMMEs and the youth. We will hold government accountable and ensure that this budget does not merely strive for established role players, but opens doors for everyone left behind. Tourism must work for everyone in South Africa, and not just a few. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honourable Beasley.
Honourable Chairperson, Minister, Deputy Minister, DG, honourable members and fellow South Africans. ActionSA will support this budget. Tourism remains a powerful engine for inclusive economic growth and job creation, especially in communities where opportunity is otherwise scarce. However, our support comes with an urgent call. This department must begin to speak with a louder, clearer and more principled voice on the governance issues undermining the tourism sector. It cannot continue to operate in a silo while the industry around it struggles. Chair, ActionSA is deeply concerned that several key sector strategies have not been updated in over a decade. These include the National Heritage and Cultural Tourism Strategy 2013, the 2012 Domestic Growth Strategy, the 2012 National Rural Tourism Strategy, and the 2012 Tourism Service Excellence Strategy. These outdated documents cannot serve as an effective roadmap in a vastly changed world. These policies, as a matter of urgency, must be updated so that we have clear, measurable goals and strategies to grow this vital, job-creating industry. The global tourism landscape has shifted significantly since 2012. South Africa must keep up or we will be left behind. To support the tourist sector, ActionSA calls for urgent reform of tourist and business visa processes. ActionSA supports expanding visa-free and visa-on-arrival access to more countries to unlock economic growth and make South Africa a more accessible destination. Minister, nowhere is the need for proactive and accountable leadership more urgent than in my own city, eThekwini. As an avid surfer and lover of the ocean, it has been devastating to witness the deterioration of Durban's once glorious beaches. eThekwini, with its warm winters and golden coastline, should be a year-round hotspot. Instead, we are now warning visitors not to swim because of E. coli contamination. Who can blame tourists for staying away when our ocean has become a public health hazard? Whilst we acknowledge that water and sanitation are not under this department's mandate, somebody must speak up. Somebody must stand up for the tourism industry, for the hospitality business being decimated, and for the thousands of workers whose jobs are on the line. Minister, that voice must be yours. Chair, in conclusion, ActionSA urges the Minister with his budget to break down interdepartmental silos and begin addressing the critical needs of the tourism sector. Let's update our tourism strategy. Let's reform our tourism visa. Let's get eThekwini tourism back on its feet. And most importantly, let's welcome the world to our shores with pride. Tourism has the potential to be one of South Africa's greatest source of sustainable employment. Let us treat it with the seriousness it deserves. As stated, ActionSA supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize the Honourable the Deputy Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister of Tourism, Ms. Patricia de Lille. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Tourism, Ms. Ronalda Nalumango, Honourable Members of Parliament, DG and your team from the department, ladies and gentlemen. As we still grieve our late Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Ms. Lungi Nganga Kabashi, and our former Deputy President, the late Mr. David Mabuza, affectionately known as the Cat. We also continue to celebrate our other great icon, our former President, Rolihlahla Mandela, in this July month. Under the theme, I quote, "It's still in our hands to combat poverty and equity," close quote, which is the 2025 theme for the Nelson Mandela International Day, which is the 18th of July, 2025. Yes, House Chairperson, it is indeed still in our hands to do tourism. That is a vehicle for creating jobs and for destroying poverty, for an inclusive economic growth and sustainability. The nation had given this government of national unity a clear mandate to turn South Africa into a successful tourism nation and to unite all of us, citizens, visitors, and tourists alike, in the joy of discovering our country, discovering each other, and in the shared hope of equality for all. In his SONA, the President mentioned the recovery of the tourism sector and its potential for further growth. This included the tourism impact areas such as the Master Plan for Job Creation and expanding support for small and medium enterprises within the tourism sector. Chairperson, sustainable SMMEs are key drivers of inclusive growth and poverty eradication. Therefore, an economic growth without transformation enriches exclusion, and transformation without growth is unsustainable. As a department, together with the entity, the South African Tourism, we thrive to champion the conditions for a possible sustainability. In this instance, to lower many barriers that inhibit SMMEs entry into the hotel industry. For example, the department has a program, the Tourism Grading Support Program, which is continuing to subsidize the grading costs. The 2025 financial year, the TGSAP supported 2,970 establishments, encouraging active participation in the TGCSA's grading system. These efforts contribute to the standardization of service excellence, helping South Africa to maintain competitive in global tourism markets. To sustain profits and benefit local economy, our department will continue to support the tourism industry to reach for a threshold of local development. Chairperson, some big hotels do not appear in the list of graded establishments on the website of the Tourism Grading Council, but still sell themselves as a 5 stars. To ensure that the grading system remains world-class and relevant to our local environment in South Africa, we have initiated the grading criteria review, which will be finalized this financial year. Grading of tourist establishments that host international events is a crucial factor in sustainability of economic growth and job creation. It is with this reason that the South African National Convention Bureau, through the meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, that is the MICE subsector, will focus on capitalizing on previous successes to accelerate growth through the consolidation of multiple national efforts when bidding for international meetings. The secured conferences will also contribute to the regional spread of business events. Given that tourism is a highly labor-intensive industry, people will rightfully expect to see significant local employment within these successfully bidded international conferences. Let us think about all the possible jobs that are connected to this tourism subsector, whether it is a driver, a messenger, a cleaner, a waitress, chefs, tour guides, or tour operators, event planners, and owners of establishments like hotels and resorts. There is no doubt that this sector has big potential to create many jobs. Honorable Chair, for the tourism sector to promote pro-poor growth, the employment level of local South African citizens in each of the 9 provinces must rise as much as their representation in the managerial positions. The People Centre's district model development will thus be another vehicle to transform the tourism industry for the better. The biggest international conference, as the Minister alluded to, yet to be held in South Africa later this year, the G20, will definitely be a catalyst for this year's job creation. South Africa hosts the G20 presidency, which presents an opportunity to showcase the nation's unparalleled hospitality, world-class infrastructure, quality-assured accommodation and experiences, as well as its ability to host global events. As a department, we are very committed to ensure that no one is left behind on the knowledge, importance, and benefit of this G20. Our first G20 community and stakeholder outreach program, Honorable Tito, was held in the Northern Cape last week. Indeed, it proved this inclusive by engaging stakeholders and communities in a meaningful dialogue. During this G20 outreach, we had built trust, established transparency, and encouraged active participation in the national agenda of G20. Without community involvement, tourism projects may fail to gain the necessary support and could lead to adverse outcomes. Therefore, fostering strong community and stakeholder engagement is essential for the long-term success of tourism core purposes, initiatives, and ultimately outcomes. The people of the Northern Cape who participated in the G20 Community Outreach Program felt that it was an exciting time for South Africa as the first African nation to preside over and host the G20 presidency and summit. Tourism is about the people of South Africa. It is about a guest house owned in Bizana, sharing the great cultural and heritage of the Eastern Cape. It is about learners visiting for free of charge the Godumodumo Dinosaur Interpretation Center in the Free State and the Square Kilometer Array and Meerkat telescopes in Northern Cape to learn more about great, important scientific discoveries. This includes roads, telecommunications system, water supply and sanitation, and safety and security to enhance the appeal to all touristic destinations in South Africa when it comes then to safety and security in the country, whereas in preventing criminal activities that is aimed at robbing our tourists. House Chairperson, we have looked in the mirror and seen some challenges in the tourism industry, but there are also real strength, deep resilience, and huge potential in our country's tourism sector. We must expand the benefits from tourism activity to ensure that the growth we are seeking is inclusive. In conclusion, House Chairperson, to my Minister, Minister Delil, I appreciate the leadership you have provided through this year and looking forward to continue working together to see through our given mandate to transform our the tourism sector and also for job creation and inclusive economic growth for all South Africans. I also would like to appreciate the positive diligence and support role of the Portfolio Committee as led by our chairperson. DG and your team, DG Vela, thank you very much for the support, and I extend my gratitude for the good work done over the past year, and our partners in the tourist industry. I'm sorry about that, I come from forestry, and for their dedicated work in support of tourism. I thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable 3.
Now you operate, Chair. I will stay until called. Honourable House Chairperson, the ACDP notes this department's budget allocation of some 2.43 billion for the 2025-26 financial year. The ACDP is cognizant that the tourism sector has the potential to uplift communities, especially in rural areas, to create a myriad of jobs, from accommodating guests to guiding, entertainment, as well as in craft production. Tourism revenue frequently brings in foreign currency and often supports the improvement of our roads, sanitation, and public services that enhance the quality of life for locals. The South African Ministry of Tourism, however, is unstable. It has faced budget underspending, stalled infrastructure projects, irregular expenditure, and weak oversight, with the entity having faced repeated leadership challenges or changes since 2023 amidst allegations of misconduct. It is irrational that tourism's acting CEO should be retained despite being named 46 times in a forensic report on the Dinokeng Festival scandal. The ACDP calls for her immediate axing following due process. This year, the ministry risks forfeiting over 800 million rand in unused funds to National Treasury due to poor budget execution. Additionally, a 35 million rand payment for services not rendered was processed through SA Tourism's offices in South Africa and the US. These payments were signed off by the former executives just days before the financial year ended, bypassing banking controls. It would be foolish not to suspect skullduggery. These failures are unconscionable. In our world in one country, with its unique blend of cultural heritage, iconic landmarks, diverse wildlife, extraordinary natural beauty, where tourism is a low-lying fruit, with passionate operators and workers, success ought to be easy. However, the ACDP calls the department to uphold ethical leadership by collaborating and fostering partnerships with international bodies to boost international arrivals, by supporting SMMEs and initiating infrastructure upgrades, with the glaring example of the Robben Island Museum. The ACDP calls for the prioritization of rural and township tourism. The entire tourism sector needs upgraded technology, such as smart tourism systems, data analytics, and digital platforms to enable monitoring and managing visitor flows. Finally, as kingdom builders, the ACDP supports the call of the Minister to consider placing the SAT under administration to restore public trust and operational integrity. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Thring. The next speaker is Honorable Kwankwa.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ndihamba nomntanam namhlanje uMamtshawe Malibongwe uhleli phaa kwi-Public Gallery. This department has been struggling to prioritize extensive tourism marketing and awareness programs. Tourism infrastructure is facing challenges right across the country. In fact, if one were to look at some of the examples, is that Business Tech recently reported how a tourism project in Limpopo, built with 58 million rands of state funds, has remained closed and unused for the past 2 decades. Minister, as you understand and know, that in 2015, official estimates indicated that of the 22 to 25% of the international tourists that traveled to Cape Town engaged back then in some form of township tourism. And because of crime, these statistics have reduced significantly, but it is not clear, it's very difficult to find reliable statistics of what the impact of violent crime, especially in the townships, as well as extortion, have had on township businesses. But quite a number, especially B&Bs, have closed down due to a lack of business, but also a lot of township businesses face competition from your well-established, which are predominantly white-owned tourist operators or companies that operate in the country, as they decide where tourists can visit and go in the country, considering those very same safety issues I've highlighted. The failure of the department to invest in projects affects all provinces. For an example, the Eastern Cape, so-called the home of legends, but there's nothing legendary there about the service delivery in the state of the province, is one of the highest tourism revenue generators in the country. However, it remains the tourism sites are underdeveloped, key infrastructure projects are neglected. This is not just a missed opportunity, but a pressing issue that needs immediate attention. Mr. Minister, as you know, South Africa's townships and rural areas hold immense potential for tourism-led economic development, but this is undermined by some of the issues I've already raised. If you were to look at grassroots initiatives like Ungutu Tours in Tanzania, bicycle tours in Cape Town townships, they showcase the rich landscape, cultural heritage, community spirit of these regions, but struggle due to inadequate infrastructure, limited municipal support, weak promotional efforts, and inadequate tourism awareness in the communities they serve, as the residents do not become an integral part of the tourism strategy of that particular community, as is the case in other jurisdictions such as Thailand and so on. We support the budget vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kwankwa. The next speaker is Honorable Zibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, I rise on two areas relating to this budget vote. The first is to talk about the land of beauty and opportunity from which I come. This is the area between the Great Kai River in Nciba in the south and then Tamvuna River in the north. It is a land of enormous contradiction. To drive from East London on the N2, branching off the right after Kunu village towards Mvezo and Ollietdale, you get to experience what poor infrastructure looks like. Roads nearly impassable during the rainy season, rutted and bumpy in the winter. To travel all the way towards Coffee Bay from there is a test of endurance. Yet the land is beautiful and fertile. The people gentle and friendly, yet many are poor. If we had policy and budget focus on agriculture, tourism and infrastructure for these lands, my fellow residents of Bomvana land, AmaXhosa to the south, Abatembu to the northwest, and Amampondo to the north, would not end up here living in informal settlements in this town and other metros. They would live well off their own land, close to their families and communities. This land could be like Africa's version of the south of France, to which people from all over the world pay obscene amounts of money just to visit. Minister, I know you care very deeply about this stuff. I am calling for better coordination between your ministry, agriculture, provincial governments, and district municipalities to mine our own climate-friendly gold. But I speak of contradictions. I have also been to an even more beautiful land just south of the Mtamvuna River, where Amadiba, Etlolobeni, where the N2 bypass project is so hotly contested. The people there are also beautiful. They are patient and deeply rooted in the land. They are calling for balanced development so that they can preserve access to this climate-friendly gold I am talking about. Being able to live off the land and the sea, to have development in a way that preserves that to which they are so spiritually connected. This is our natural resources. I know the project is well underway, but they deserve further engagement and support by me, by the members of this House, by you, Minister, and indeed the Minister of Transport. Rise Mzansi supports this budget vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Zibi. The next speaker is Honorable Shongo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honorable Minister Delil, Deputy Minister Sojo, DG and the officials of the department, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Nolumango, Honorable members, fellow South Africans, Nyanbingelela Nonke. It is with great sadness that we participate in this budget vote today. Just 5 days ago, we learned of the passing of Comrade David Dabete Mabuza, former Deputy President of the African National Congress and the country. Comrade Diti was a dedicated activist, a seasoned educator, and a sharp-minded political strategist who led and counseled many of us throughout our political journey and activism in the ANC. He will forever be remembered for his strong character and visionary leadership. May his soul rest in peace. Honorable Chairperson, Vote 38 remains central to government's commitment to driving inclusive growth and job creation. As outlined in the ANC's 55th National Conference resolution, the tourism sector plays a vital role in stimulating South Africa's economy. Through its multiplier effect, it supports various sectors and is able to absorb different skill levels through employment. More importantly, tourism is a powerful tool for transformation, empowerment, and upliftment of marginalized and previously disadvantaged. Black women, youth, and persons with disabilities must take center stage in redressing the injustices of the past, and no longer shall they remain on the margins as general workers, cleaners, monitors, and guides. Our government must create a conducive environment that allows them to find expression in ownership patterns, to become shareholders and executives in this sector. It is for this reason that we implore the Government of National Unity to intensify its resolve to safeguard transformative policies such as the Employment Equity Act and the BBBE, which are meant to level the playing field and acknowledge the legacy of inequality inherited from the apartheid era. We are encouraged by the department's efforts to deepen this understanding and ensure inclusion. Their APP reports the following. The target for SMS women representation was 50%. The department achieved 50.8%. For persons with disabilities, the target was 3%. They achieved 4.8%. 40% of spending on goods and services was directed to SMMEs and women-owned businesses. Honorable House Chairperson, the department must sharpen its instruments and create vital ground for meaningful transformation. Central to this is the implementation of the Tourism Equity Fund, the Tourism Transformation Fund, and the tourism grading system, all of which we believe must be expedited as per the committee's recommendations. Against this backdrop, we welcome the increase in the budget allocation for Program 4, which grows by 4.2% in nominal terms, from 318.1 million in 2024-2025 to 331.6 million in 2025-2026. The tourism incentive sub-program at 197.2 million is the main cost driver in this program. It aims to incentivize priority areas, including market access support, tourism grading, implementation of energy efficiency initiatives, and funding for transformation initiatives in the sector. These efforts are all geared towards unlocking capital investment for Black tourism entrepreneurships. They align with the department's strategic priorities of economic transformation, responsible tourism, and job creation. The allocation to this sub-program increases by 3% in nominal terms. As I conclude, Honorable Chairperson, the ANC welcomes the department's addition of a new target on digital transformation. This is in line with the global trends, which are integrating technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and immense platform to drive a more innovative and competitive tourism experience. As the African National Congress will support this budget vote, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Shongo. The next speaker will be Honorable Van Staden.
Dankie, voorsitter. Voorsitter, toerisme is 'n bron van groot inkomste vir Suid-Afrika en daar moet met alle erns gepoog word om Suid-Afrika so aantreklik as moontlik te maak vir buitelandse toeriste en dat hulle met 'n oop gemoed sonder enige bekommernis na Suid-Afrika reis om ons wonderlike land met sy pragtige natuurskoon te kan beleef en te kan geniet. This can only be fully achieved when we clamp down on crime. Crime keeps the tourist away and crime has a huge impact on our country's income. It has an impact on our country's image. We must fix this, otherwise in a few years' time we will have a situation where tourists don't want to come and visit us due to the high crime levels. During February of this year, the FF Plus has made an urgent request to the Minister to take the necessary steps to ensure that communities and especially tourist resorts on the banks of the Fall River are not again devastated by floods due to the negligence of the water authorities. We cannot have a situation again as in February 2023 when tons of millions of rands of damage were caused to resorts along the Fall River after they were unexpectedly overwhelmed by strong flooding due to poor coordination between the different authorities responsible for regulating the outflow from the Vaal Dam. Die VF Plus verwelkom die opening van die Dinosaurus Sentrum in die Golden Gate Hoogland Nasionale Park in die Vrystaat en uiteindelik het die departement hierin geslaag om hierdie sentrum op die been te bring. Die departement se begroting vir die 25-26 boekjaar van 2.43 miljard en die onderspandering van hierdie departement soos in 2024-25 boekjaar wat 800 miljoen beloop het, mag nie weer gebeur nie, aangesien toerisme 'n groot belang het in die ekonomie van Suid-Afrika. Die risiko's wat met onderspandering gepaard gaan is enorm en dit kan en mag nie weer toegelaat word nie. Die Vredefort Koepel besoekersentrum projek staan egter tans verwaarloos en daadwerklike pogings sal aangewend moet word om hierdie swak projek wat teen 'n koste van 11 miljoen in Augustus 2008 voltooi is te red, om toe te sien dat toerisme aanloklikheid in die gebied weer op dreef kom. Hierdie gebied is 'n erfenisjuweel en dit kan 'n groot inkomste vir die land wees, mits daar daadwerklike pogings aangewend word om die skade wat deur hierdie projek aangerig is te herstel. In steede daarvan om honderde miljoene rande te verbeur aan nasionale tesorie kon hierdie geld eerder aangewend geword het om probleme by die Vredefort Koepel uit te sorteer of om so te gebruik dat ander toerisme aantreklikhede in Mpumalanga en Limpopo en ander dele in die land opgegradeer en meer aantreklik gemaak word, nie net vir buitelandse toeriste nie, maar ook vir Suid-Afrikaners. Lastens, voorsitter, we also have a concern regarding the blooming of dam structural problems that can be a threat to tourism in this region, and the FF Plus has already posed questions in this regard to the Minister of Water and Sanitation. This Minister informed us that upstream repairs that include the collapsing slabs will start on the 1st of July of this year, and I want to ask the Minister of Tourism to follow up on this matter to ensure that the tourism industry and the income of these towns and regions relating to guest houses, resorts and guest farms in the Bloemhof and Christiana areas in Northwest are not negatively affected in this regard. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is Honourable Ismail.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Members, fellow South Africans. Tourism should be one of South Africa's most powerful tools for inclusion and job creation, especially in places where no other industry will go. Spent properly, Chairperson, the Department of Tourism's budget could inspire recovery in this crucial sector. We are concerned, however, that money is being spent in the wrong places and with the wrong people. We will use the full extent of our oversight powers to ensure the department is using taxpayers' monies how it should, not how it wants to. Let's start with the facts. The department is allocated 2.43 billion rand for 2025-2026 financial year. Over 53% of this, which is about 1.3 billion rand, goes to South African tourism, mostly for business and leisure marketing. Now let me be clear, marketing is important, but marketing without measurable outcomes, without a return on investment, without strategic focus on a domestic tourism strategy, and without any credible plan to deal with seasonality is a shot in the dark. Glossy campaigns won't rescue a crumbling sector. While the department parades around performance statistics, the truth is that rural, township, and small-town tourism businesses are struggling. We are the Jobs Minister. Let's talk about what really matters. Jobs, jobs, and more jobs. A 13.8% cut to the Working for Tourism program slashed job targets from nearly 18,000 to just 1,400 this year. Even worse, in the last quarter, the department promised 2,037 work opportunities and delivered only 66. Yes, 66. At a time when South Africa is facing a youth unemployment crisis, this is not just a failure, it's a betrayal. While the minister spins progress and her department touts 100% achievement, audit findings show ineffective oversight and a lack of consequence and risk management. We are spending billions through South African tourism and DBSA, yet when projects fail or stall, nobody is held accountable. Risk registers are being closed, but the risks themselves remain wide open. That is why, Chairperson, we must welcome the committee's support for the DA's proposals to ensure that the department and SAT make the link between program implementation and performance audits, and to support our call for an independent review of all DBSA managed projects. The committee has been willing to put aside political differences in the interest of transparency and accountability. We hope, Chairperson, that the Minister will do the same and provide full transparency over the findings and details of both independent audits of the SAT tender fraud allegations. Chairperson, as we reflect on the promises made at the launch of the Tourism Equity Fund, one can't help but ask, how did we get here? The Tourism Equity Fund was meant to empower youth-owned, women-led, and township-based enterprises. 466 million rand was committed, but only 125 million rand has been dispersed. The rest is frozen, locked behind bureaucratic delays and a culture of excuse-making. Implementing agents shift deadlines with no oversight, while real entrepreneurs are left in limbo. This is not transformation. This is exclusion. We need to stop confusing compliance with impact. More broadly, we must rethink our approach to empowerment in tourism. Transformation cannot be a tick box exercise based on narrow BBEE scorecards. It must be outcome-based. It's about tangible outcomes. How many township-based tourism businesses are thriving? How many rural communities saw real economic growth? How many sustainable jobs were created? The department has not been asking the right questions. We have made comprehensive submissions with many proposals and recommendations to transform tourism for the better. Today, however, I will focus on just 5 key priorities: practical, measurable, and urgent, that show what real leadership looks like. 1, reform the TEF and Transformation Fund. Shift from grants to low-interest loans tied directly to job creation with full transparency and accountability. 2, stop funding infrastructure the department doesn't own. Why is tourism paying to maintain facilities it neither manages nor controls? 3, rebalance the budget. Reduce spending on marketing and increase investment in catalytic infrastructure and enterprise support, especially in villages, townships, and small dorpies. 4, modernize outdated laws and strategies. The Tourism Act 2014 is over a decade old. There are serious gaps in areas like unregulated short-term rentals and voluntary grading, which undermine both quality assurance and fairness in the sector. Key strategies like the Heritage Tourism Plan 2013 and Rural Strategy 2012 have not been reviewed in over a decade as well. The Minister must prioritize the tabling of the Tourism Amendment Bill in this 7th Parliament. If we are serious about building a professional, competitive, and inclusive tourism sector, then our legislation must reflect 21st century realities. 5, track return on investment in every market. SA Tourism must publish ROI metrics per international market and justify every rand spent. No more fiscal dumping. Chairperson, Cape Town has become one of the continent's most successful tourism cities, not because of slogans, but because of smart governance, public-private partnerships, and a relentless focus on safety and delivery. This is the model we should be scaling. Minister, with all due respect, tourism does not need a caretaker, it needs a champion. The department cannot continue to underdeliver on jobs. mismanage transformation, and hide behind compliance targets that mean nothing to the unemployed young person in a forgotten town. The Democratic Alliance supports this budget vote with urgency in our voice and oversight in our hands, and we will hold you to every line item and every promise you make. Because tourism can uplift, it can transform, it can employ, but only if we get the basics right. Outcomes over compliance, transparency over patronage, and opportunity over rhetoric. Let us stop disempowering in the name of empowerment. True change will only take place when we reject false empowerment and deliver boldly, genuinely for the people of South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker will be the Honorable Mayecho.
Honorable House Chair, Deputy Minister and the Minister, DG of the Department, Honorable Members, fellow South Africans. Chair, I will start by just not to address our angry friends, but just to indicate, Chair, by rejecting the budget votes without offering alternative solution, the angry parties demonstrate a lack of commitment to the people they claim to represent. This is a political posturing that only serves to perpetuate poverty and inequality, further entrenching status quo. Their actions can be seen as a slap in the face to the very people who voted them into office, highlighting the crisis of representation. The budget vote is not just a financial exercise. It is a critical tool for social transformation and economic empowerment. Chair, as the ANC, we must acknowledge the important role played by the Development Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA, in implementing 70 infrastructure projects on behalf of the department. This project ranges from the maintenance of national parks, provincial tourism assets, to destination enhancement initiatives and community-based tourism projects. These are initiatives where large sums of public funds are invested and which many families depend on for their livelihoods. However, it is essential that DBSA urgently addresses growing concerns around the premature termination of contracts, the lack of clear and consistent communication with communities, and the disturbing rise of the so-called construction mafia. Honorable Chair, these practices not only hinder the development but threaten to reverse our democratic gains. We must confront them decisively and without compromise. Honorable Chair, in the department's latest report on the audit outcomes for the Department of Tourism, the Auditor General assessed the department's management of consequences and found that this was managed in line with legislations. This finding is indeed encouraging. It illustrates that the tone for good governance is set at the top and bodes well to address any irregularity and non-compliance within the department. Honorable Chair, the Minister must support the department's efforts on consequence management to ensure that the clean administration continues to be maintained. Such efforts provide essential characteristics for the Government of National Unity's priority of building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. As the ANC, we welcome the committee's recommendation to ensure that there is effective consequence management for those who fail to comply with contractual obligation. We call for an urgent oversight visit to all projects under the DBSA. Equally, we want to see the department implement the resolution to develop an aftercare support program for projects that are handed over to communities. Honorable Chairperson, as we respond to the call by this Government of National Unity to build an inclusive economy and society, the ANC supports the initiative by South African Tourism to drive business tourism over the medium term. This will include bids to host corporate meetings, conferences, exhibitions in all provinces, including rural areas and small towns. The Minister must ensure that due attention is given to all elements of tourism, BEE sector codes, including improving ownership patterns within the sector. In line with GNU priorities of inclusive economic growth, the department programs must intensify, not dilute, their transformative impact. These programs should be designed to ensure that benefits reach communities and SMEs directly, and that they receive sustainable support that enables meaningful economic participation growth. As the ANC, we welcome the world to experience our wealth, cultural diversity, and vibrant tourism offerings. We must remain committed to resolving barriers such as our visa regime and limited air access. Improved air connectivity, including more direct flights and efficient airport infrastructure, will drive tourist arrivals and support broader economic growth. Government must work with stakeholders to address limitation in flight availability. This must include promoting airline competition, reducing barriers to entry for new operators, and embracing technology to improve bookings and travel experiences. Let us work together to unlock the full potential of tourism as a driver of transformation. Collaboration with the South African police services, our tourism monitors, and local communities is critical to ensuring the safety and protection of our tourists. We must commend the resilience of tourism workers and business who continue to shine despite adversity. We urge government to continue championing initiatives that compel all of us to act in defense of our country's progress and safeguard the hard-won gains of our democracy. As the ANC chair, we support budget for 38 of the department. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next and last speaker will be the Honorable the Minister.
Honourable House Chair, honourable members, thank you for your input, your advice, and your concerns and criticism. We take it that we can only build on that and learn from it. On the issue of EPWP, for 25-26, we have allocated 280 million rand. But we've also shifted EPWP program away from destination development to tourism services support program. We cannot afford another year where we do not spend all our budget on EPWP. I agree with the honourable members. It's an indictment that, we sit with money and there are so many hundreds and thousands of people that are unemployed in our country, and we will certainly correct that. Number of members refer to transformation. And yes, indeed, it's necessary. But we are also busy reviewing the structures that are responsible to drive transformation. What do you have in tourism? You do have a Tourism Transformation Council with 14 board members or council members. I appointed them in September, October last year. Their main task is to do a survey, a research, to see transformation progress or lack of progress and what is the impact of transformation on the tourism sector. They still have to do that research. No. One day when you become a minister, you will know. Yeah. So our oversight, and I've received a number of questions from the Portfolio Committee members about the Transformation Council. The Transformation Council received 5.2 million rand from the Tourism Business Council to do their work. Last week, I had a meeting with them to give me progress. Instead, we got stuck because I was upset on the board fees that they were paying themselves with no research report. So I'm working on that. Then we also have the Transformation Fund. Again, with the Transformation Fund that we have, the number of jobs that have been created through the money that we spend on transformation is very few. So again, those structures need to be reviewed, and we must make sure that we create more jobs with the money that government is putting into the Transformation Fund. Then we have the Tourism Equity Fund, another mess. On advice from the National Treasury, I was advised to move the money from the Tourism Equity Fund that was administered by an implementing agent called SIFA to another implementing agent. Since January this year up till July, I'm still waiting on SIFA to give us a close-up report so that we can cede the funding for the equity fund to another agency. You're still waiting. Last week, I was before the select committee in the NCOP, and they came with a legal report that says that they cannot share information with the minister or the department or the portfolio committee on the beneficiaries because of papaya. I got a legal opinion to show them that they are wrong. So the moment we can get our funding from SIFA, we can continue with the transformation in the sector. Then, yeah, you must cry, sis toch, man. Oh, you must cry. Oh, the EFF is always crying like babies. I'll put a nappy on for you. Cry, cry. Now, yes, a number of the members also spoke about job creation, and that's correct. In 2024, we created 1.6 million direct and indirect jobs in our country through tourism, and also 8.3% of our GDP, direct and indirect. So yes, I will agree with everyone. There's big room for improvement. The potential is there. And we need to collaborate more with the private sector and our communities. Honorable Linda, ek stem saam. Agritourisme het 'n groot potensiaal. Groot potensiaal. En ons moet verbeter wat ons alreeds doen, want daar is 'n groot potensiaal. En ons kan meer werke ook verskaf daar. So ek stem 100% saam met u dat ons moet baie beter daar doen. A number of members raised the issue about the Tourism Amendment Bill. Yes, we have started already. The Tourism Amendment Bill must be aligned to the new white paper that was approved by Cabinet in October, November 2024. So that's work in progress. We've agreed with the leader of government business that the bill will not be introduced into the current parliamentary program, but certainly it will be introduced next year. Honorable Beasley raised the issue about KZN. Yes, we are working together with the presidential task team that was appointed in eThekwini to deal with the number of problems there. I also work closely with the Premier and the MEC Zondi. And last year, we assisted the province with marketing and getting the tourists back to Durban. So I can share the work that we are doing there with Honorable Beasley. Yeah, on the ACDP, I wasn't quite so sure, Honorable Member, which department you were talking about, but I can't pick up on the issue of the 35 million in the 23-24 financial year. And you were correct that they waited until the last day of the financial year and then moved money.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your time has expired.
That's it. Thank you very much. Didn't I have a minute?
We added.
Thank you, honorable members, and God bless. Thank you.
Honorable members, you are reminded that 2 debates are scheduled simultaneously for 16:30 today. The National Treasury Budget Vote debate will be held in the Good Hope Chamber, while the Land Reform and Rural Development Budget Vote debate will take place in Committee Room M46, which is this one. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.